champion.
Well, not only we got 5 new bowlers, but people are in for a real some great Candlepin bowling, I think. If all of these bowlers bring their best bowling with them, don't go away for the next 4 weeks. We should see some big scores.
I agree with you there. This, on paper, is a terrific series coming up, and we want to get right to it. So let's introduce you to our first 2 bowlers for this first week of the series. Our number 5 seed is a guy who's been here almost more than anybody. In fact, he may be up there on the top of that list right now. Steve Vadney from Claremont, New Hampshire.
Yes, Steve comes in. His record, like you said, Doug, is 21-7 on the show. Averages 125, high singles 197, high triple 488.
Actually, as I check it, he is now at the top of that list with 28 total appearances, as you mentioned, 21-7. And the guy he'll be facing is making just his second appearance here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes, but also a fine Candlepin bowler from Quincy, Massachusetts, Jack Saniuk.
Okay, and Jack comes in averaging an identical average of Steve Vadney at 125, a high single of 199, and a high triple of 466.
Well, we want to get right to the bowling. It should be terrific in this series. As Dan mentioned, we're going to get to it. Of course, we'll have our bonus ball contest at the end of the show. We'll tell you more about that a little later on. 3 strings of bowling between Jack Saniuk and Steve Vadney, and we'll get it started right after these messages. Don't go away. Two seed, and Pat Pay, no stranger to this program, is the number 1 seed, and he'll be here 3 weeks from today to try and defend that number 1 spot. One of these 5 bowlers will move into the Tournament of Champions. Right now, Steve Vadney moving up on lane 32 to get this match started here. We're glad you're with us on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. We know that so many of you make it a regular part of your Sunday, and we do appreciate it so very much. And happy December.
That's right. Yeah, and Steve starts right off with converting the diamond for a spare. 3, 5, 6, and the 9 pin in the back.
Oh, my. Chipping out the 2 pin.
It was funny when they were warming up, Jack Saniuk did the same thing, but he punched out the 3 pin, and Steve Vadney says, "You're not supposed to do that here." Well, right now, Jack would rather have done it when he did it than, I'm sure, than when Steve did it when the lights went on. And
wow.
A disappointing 5, so after a spare, he only has 16 after two frames.
Jack Saniuk now.
Both of these bowlers, I may mention, after the tapings today, leave for Bangor, Maine, and they'll both be competing in the World Cup. That's a team tournament, and in fact, you're looking at Jack, who his team is the reigning champions. Of course, it's Jack Saniuk, Craig Holbrook, Billy Treeful, Don Richmond, Mike Morrill, and a guy named Tommy Olsta.
Jack missing the single pin. Not a bad group.
Not a bad group at all.
10 bucks to open up for Jack.
I haven't had the pleasure to compete in that tournament because it goes all week long. And they bowl a different team. They have teams from Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine. And they compete each day against a different team, and it's quite a grueling test.
It really is an unusual format for Candlepin in that most of the bowlers, even the pro bowlers, are used to competing most of the time no more than 10 strings. Sometimes, right, occasionally more than that, but not often.
And of course, when we talk about Candlepin bowler in New England, we really talk about a singles rather than a team event.
Steve Vadney trying to put another mark up as he did on lane 32 in the first.
Just to carry that thought a little further, in Canada it's just the opposite. They are very, very big on team events and do very little on the individual basis. And it's strange bowling against a team from Canada too, because the other 4 guys on the team will stand at the edge of the approach right behind their bowler. and they'll high-five every spare and strike. And
they do the wave?
Yeah, no, that's probably coming. It's moving up north. It's up in Maine now. It'll probably cross over the border sometime soon. But it's kind of distracting sometimes, because when you switch lanes, they stay there. So now they're behind you. And it's just, you got to be ready for that. It's a different, you know, they don't really heckle you, but you know they're there. They make a lot of noise. It's kind of different. Dottie has to get down and remove a wood that's rolled out of play.
Welcome back Dottie Lark, who was taking a sabbatical for a while from the program, but she's back and still a crowd favorite. And a 10 for Steve Vadney.
We sent her to bowling scoring camp for a couple weeks just to sharpen up her skills, and she's...
First thing they did as a disciplinary measure was cut off her hair.
Well, maybe it was boot camp. We have a lot of fun with Dottie. She works the big scoreboard for us here. For the spectators, I might mention a big group.
Oh, Jack barely got that one to fall. The 1 and the 10 deep in the right corner.
Plays the wood next to the head pin and just slides everything down to the 10 and removes that one. So spare in the third, first mark for Jack Saniuk. Light hit, but decent drop of 7.
Jack's only appearance here on Stars and Strikes prior to today was back on April the 8th, when he lost to Peter Flynn, and he wanted to be sure that we mentioned that...
He's trying to forget it, really.
Peter rolled a 436 that day, and Jack rolled a fine triple for himself, a 405, but it was not good enough against Peter Flynn that day. Jack with the early 13-pin lead. Steve Vadney. Right in the Brooklyn pocket nicely that time, leaving a spare leave, the 6 and the 10.
Looked like the 78 were going to be left also at first, and Wood came across and knocked both of those down, so it gives him a legitimate spare leave. And he does convert that.
To run down all of Steve's appearances here on the program would take the rest of the program. But I can tell you that he first appeared here back in May of 1984, which was our very first series on the program, and he lost to Rich Dion, as so many people did in that first series. 367 to 350. But he has just dominated here ever since.
Roadblock that time. 2 pieces of wood out in front of the 8-pin, cost him the shot.
61 through 6, and let's take a look at that spare shot.
Just splits both pieces of wood. One goes to the left, one goes to the right, and 8-pin remained. Big ball for Jack Saniuk. Everything but the 10. Now, he just missed this for a spare earlier. See if he can block that out of his mind and go right after it. Oh, boy. Well, I think for the rest of the day, every time he has a 10-pin, he could be thinking about it. Jack's father, Mike Saniuk, member of the Candlepin Hall of Fame. One of the great ones. I was just getting into bowling when Jack's father was right on top of his game and quite a bowler.
Jack takes it out for a 10, and there's a 5-pin difference after the first 6. Steve Vadney, in all, has won 6 ladder championships. That's not match championships, that's ladder championships. He's won 21 matches in all, 21 and 7 on the show, but 6 of those 21 wins came in finals competition.
But he has not won a ladder. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's not won a ladder since we went to the Tournament of Champions format.
That's correct. Right. The last one he won was back in April of 1988 when he beat Gary Carrington. Actually, I gave him one more than he has. He has 5 series championships, not 6. He also has rolled 9 400 triples on the program. Just an incredible dossier on Stars and Strikes here for Steve Vadney. Neither bowler particularly warm yet.
Well, maybe I shouldn't have mentioned all the heavy hitters we have at the beginning of the show.
Happens every time.
I know, inevitably.
Another 10.
You know, still competing myself throughout New England a lot. You hear of scores being hit and things like that. So I would like to acknowledge and congratulate Roger Bowden, bowling here at Park Place Lanes in the league, and it's a 5-string league. Hit 5 games of 795.
Wow.
Which is a new lane record here at Park Place Lanes in Wyndham.
Roger Bowden has been with us on Stars and Strikes previously. This time a 6 for Jack Saniuk, and now the difference is just 1. The last time Steve Vadney was with us, he was in doubles competition, and that was earlier this year, January 7th, in fact, when he teamed with Penny Brady and lost a very tough match by 5 pins to Kevin Davis and Carol Downey. And speaking of doubles, we'll have our annual mixed doubles tournament starting 4 weeks from today, December 30th, here on Stars and Strikes.
Well, if you want a close match, we have that. If you want high scores, we don't have that yet.
Pitcher's duel.
Good defense.
Well, let's see. This could be a spare chance, but the wood may be a problem, and now it seems to be moving out of the way.
No, I think it's more of an asset than a liability right now. If he gets the red line or below, yeah, it's right on the red line. There was enough angle on the pin to carry him the ball into the 5-pin.
Never did knock it down. He just moved it out of the way.
100 even plus the ball in the 10th for.
Looking for a big ball to finish, and he hits a 7. So a 107 opening string for Steve Vadney with 3 spares. Jack Saniuk has just the 1 spare so far, and now he'll have a chance for another, as the 4-pin has a very friendly piece of wood in front. So this will probably aid Jack's confidence a little bit right here as he marks that one down. So this thing's going to be just about even after 1. And a 9-pin drop.
Well, Jack will maintain his lead, and with this he can increase it.
Put the lead over 10. Wow.
I'll tell you, and he's going to start to have a phobia about single pins. This continues. That's 3 single pins in game.
A 10 and a 110, so it's a 3-pin advantage for Jack Saniuk, but he's probably wondering about what could have been. 3 pins the difference after 1. Steve Vadney and Jack Saniuk will be back with string number 2 right after these messages. But it's just that simple. We had a big $150 winner just a few weeks ago. Jack Saniuk now, leading by 3 and starting game number 2. With a 9 drop. This one has a lot of wood, though.
Yeah, but you got to be careful because there's 2 pieces there. Not that careful. No problem.
Jack's had 2 of those, but he's also had the single pins without wood, and this time he leaves nothing. Well, he's decided to solve things the easy way.
The wood just kicks forward for the 5-pin. I'm going to really go out on the limb right now, Doug, and I'm going to still say it's going to take a 400 triple to win this match.
Wow. That is going out on a limb. Steve Vadney studying the 3-7 with that wood in between that's still moving.
The farther it comes out, the better it's going to be for Steve, because right now I think he's going to have to play the 3-pin. That's what he's trying to do, cut it over. If it rolled out a little more, he might have been able to play the wood and have the ball take the 3 and the wood take the 7.
10 for Steve. Steve Vadney works at Sturm Ruger Company Incorporated, does most of his bowling at the Sunset Lanes up in Newport, New Hampshire. He and his wife Annette, daughter Jennifer, son Stevie, live in Claremont. They're all here, by the way, watching the match. Making the drive down. Should enroll Steve in some sort of frequent driver program. Coming down here as often as he does.
And he's going to take an 8. I mentioned Steve Vadney. I mentioned the World Cup team. And I didn't mention Steve's team, who will be representing the great state of New Hampshire, as Jack is representing Massachusetts. Oh boy, disappointing. 2 on a strike. It'll be, of course, Steve Vadney, Tim Lipke, Mike Poulin, Al Cloutier, Bob Francor, and Peter Pereira. So good luck to those bowlers as well.
There are a total of how many teams, you said? Must be...
I think they're close
8?
to 20 teams. No.
But it's 8.
Right.
All the different areas that are represented.
Right. They have 2 or 3 teams from Massachusetts, and I think there's only 1 from New Hampshire. But there's 2 or 3 from Maine, and there's many from Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. That's right. As we speak, your local NHCBA house will be holding roll-offs for our mixed doubles format. So if you're interested in getting in and trying to be a contestant on the show, it's mixed doubles time, so the men and women will have separate roll-offs. And that taping for that is 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, it's an interesting format, not only when the bowlers get here on the show, but it's interesting in setting it up because the roll-offs are held separately, and then the teams are put together after that in inverse order of the roll-off scores. So what you individually roll in your roll-off really doesn't count as much as it ordinarily would. And for instance, if you finish #1 in the roll-off, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be on the #1 seeded team.
Right. And it's a Scotch doubles format where the team bowls every other pair of boxes. And so the scores should be relatively lower because of that format, but exciting. In fact, you're looking at a fellow, Steve Vadney. Everyone probably that follows the show remembers when he bowled with Jackie Sterner, and they just complimented each other so well. When one wasn't on, the other one was. It was a lot of fun. So that's coming up 2 weeks from today.
But right now we have lots more to go in this match as Jack Saniuk has stretched his lead out to 17, and we'll pick it up here in this second game after these messages. Candlepin Stars and Strikes from Park Place Lanes in Wyndham. Glad you're with us. One of our participating sponsors again for this particular championship series. Benson Ski and Sport, Martin Street, downtown Derry. Specializing, of course, in ski packages. They can design one just for you. Their trained staff can do it all for you. Benson Ski and Sport, they've got what it takes. And you saw Jack Saniuk struggle again with a single pin. as he leaves another one. Well, what do you do to correct this problem if you're in a match and this is happening?
You just pray that you get the single pins with a plank in front of it, because there's nothing. Once your confidence goes, it's a long day. You just shudder. You just, oh no, not another one.
And of course, the ironic thing about it is 9 drops happen when you're bowling well.
That's
usually.
Right. You're right. So there's more of a chance of missing 1 or 2. But when you miss a few like Jack has, it just begins to wear on your confidence.
Well, Steve Vadney on his own looking for his first mark of this second game. He had 3 in the first.
I'm really going to go out on a limb here and say it's going to take about 350 to win this match.
You're coming in off the limb, aren't you?
Well, the crew's out there with a saw, and I didn't want to get caught.
Steve trying to convert the half Worcester. Leaves the 4, 6, and 7. And he's out of it with an 8. Dave Richards from Derry, a newcomer to the program, will get the winner of this match next Sunday.
Four horsemen. To the left, 1, 2, 4, and 7. And on the outside, everything but the 2. Went right around the 2. Took out the 4, 7. So Steve is going to be open through 6.
And the lead is now 18. Oh, this looks like it could be another 9 drop. And Jack's waving at it, saying, no, let's leave it at 8, shall we?
I think he's a little pleased that there's a piece of wood in front of it, too. I mean, just...
Another piece of wood that's coming way out. You see Dottie will take care of that one, and then Jack will be able to shoot at the 5 and the 8. And the wood does look like it's okay.
Yes, I think if he's especially above the red line, he shouldn't have any problem at all. And that holds to be true. 77 through 7 for Jack. Be working on this spare. Leading by 15 in this game and 18-pin lead overall.
Well, I guess if there's one thing that Jack can be thankful for, in spite of the fact that he's been missing the single pins, it's that he does have the lead. And he can try and just go on from here and forget what's happened if he can.
I would think before the match, if you asked Jack that you're going to throw 110 the first game and you're going to be 77 through 7 the second game and be leading by 18, he would probably laugh. But that's where it is right now.
And even though he spared there in the 7th, the 4 fill and 7 virtually wiped it out.
I'll tell you one thing, though. Whoever wins this match, I wouldn't want to be the bowler coming in next week because these bowlers are not going to stay at this pace very long.
Steve Vadney with a good hit, and he gets the kick out on the 10, leaving the 5 pin.
And Jack saying, sure, you get a piece of wood. Steve converts that for a spare.
His 4th.
Roar from the crowd, but that was a little, well, I don't know. It was kind of a, yeah, finally kind of cheer or something. It is Steve's first mark of the second game. Right back in the pocket, and whoa, that wood was going to knock the 4 pin down. Second piece of wood stopped it, so it's a 9 fill.
Steve picks up 5 on the fill, cutting into the lead, and another spare up in the 8th, which should just about even things up. So 5 marks for each bowler now. Jack Saniuk has 1 strike in there. Thin hit, and he'll leave a rather interesting 2, 8, and 10.
Piece of wood in between the 2 and the 8. He's going to try to cut it over, and ooh, very nearly did that. Just a little bit more to the left. I had a chance at making that. Jack seems to be throwing a little harder right now, whether it's anger or just trying to be more aggressive out in the lanes, but a little more speed on the ball.
Wow, big break there. Big break there for Jack.
First, I thought it was going to be the spread eagle, and then I thought he was going to have the 2-4-7 with the 3-pin. The 3-pin toppled, and a piece of wood in front of those 3. Maybe worry about the 7. No problem, though. Jack is the mark in the 10th. 108 plus the ball. You see the replay of that? Just drives the wood right straight back into those 3 pins.
Well, you got to feel pretty good about that, Mark, when something like that happens.
But I'm sure Jack would admit it's a very disappointing game with 4 marks and still not a 120.
Well, here's a single he doesn't have to shoot at.
That's right. You can forget about that one.
117.
That's exactly what Jack just said. At least I don't have to shoot that one.
227 through 2 for Jack. Steve Vadney working on a mark now here in the 8th. Crosses over and leaves some trouble.
Looked a little better than that. I thought he a little more than 6, but he's looking at the 3-6, 4-7.
No one's going to run away and hide with this match.
96 through 9. Lead is now cut to 5 pins, but Steve Vadney's facing a spare 9 in the last box that Jack Saniuk already has posted. And Steve continues to struggle a little more than Jack.
Jack Saniuk will still have his lead. In fact, he'll extend it a bit here in the second game. Steve Vadney gets out with a fine 10. Those pins might be important later on. You never know. Close match. 106 for Steve Vadney, 213 the total, and the difference is 14. Jack Saniuk in the lead with 1 game to go. And we'll have it after these words. One game to go.
And there you see, Steve trails by 14 pins, so it's probably 2 more marks than his opponent, Jack Saniuk. So 10 boxes to try to make up that 14 pins. 2-4-7 on the left with the 6-10. Steve looks like he's just really rushing up the line. A clear indication that he's just not comfortable up there and trying to do something different to get him into some kind of a rhythm.
Well, he'll shoot at the 4 horsemen this time. Boy. Wow.
I don't think that could have been hit much better than that. We're going to show you a replay. Let's see what happens and why that 7-pin didn't go down. Splits the 1 and the 2. Boy, the 4-pin came right against the sidewall, never went backwards at all, came back on the plate, never touched the 7.
The head pin went behind it. Jack Saniuk now, leading by 14.
3-pin spare, twice as easy as far as Jack's concerned. Well, misses the object pin, the head pin.
Adds 2 pins and count.
Looks like a good ball going in, and here we go. All alone, the 10-pin. A pin, well, of course, we've been talking about the singles he's having trouble with. The problems all started with the 10-pin. Missed that a couple times the first game. See if he makes the adjustment, tries to block out what's been happening. And he's right on it.
Well, good time to get one.
And the crowd cheers. The crowd is right into this. They understand what's going on, and they understand he's had trouble with the singles, and they gave him one of those finally cheers. And Steve wasn't for bad luck right now. Steve would have no luck at all. The 5 and the 10. And not really a good angle with both pieces of wood. One in front of the 5, one behind. So on the inside or outside, it could... I decided to say would inside or outside would at least get the wood moving, and it did move in front of the 10, but not nearly enough to catch it and knock it down.
Here's a look at it. It snaps, but it moved forward toward Steve rather than toward the back, which might have taken out the 10 pin. Big hit that time, and wow. Leaving the 4 and the 10.
Well, let's see where the wood settles down.
That front piece of wood is in play. The deadwood line, by the way, those of you who are wondering where it is roughly in the same spot where you see the light change to shadow.
That's right, Doc. That's a good analogy there. And if you got a real clear TV, you might be able to pick it up, but it's a thin line. If any of the felled pins touch that line, it's removed. It doesn't have to be clear across it. All it has to do is touch it.
10 for Steve, but needs marks right now, especially since Jack Saniuk is about to step up and fill one, and he will add to his lead, which stands at 16 plus this ball. Off to the left. Marks that Jack has had, he has not been able to make pay necessarily. He had a 2 fill on a strike in the last game, and he had an earlier 4 on a spare as well.
And really, spare 4-7, it's only 21 pins in those 2 boxes, so Steve Vadney is still hanging around. It's one of those things that you've got to be very careful that the other bowler doesn't finally snap out of it. And he's looking at the 8 pin. It's a single. It's all alone. He does have some wood to the right that would probably knock the pin down. Let's see how he plays it. He's taking a little extra time. The 2 pieces of wood aren't frozen together, so they could jump. Now he's going to go right at it, and ooh, ooh is right. Jackson, we're going to get a smile out of Jack for that one.
Capping the wood and covering the spare. He's got the lead with 6 frames to go. We'll break away. Don't go away.
I think it's reached the point in the match where it's now or never for Steve Vadney. He's going to have to put some offense up. Trailing by 18, but that'll increase because Jack Saniuk has a spare posted in the 4th.
Oh, there is a big ball right there when he needed it. That's the best ball he's thrown all day.
And of course, you know, the reputation of the Park Place Lanes as being a fast house. When anytime you throw 1 strike, good chance, possibility of throwing 2.
Missing the head pin, but he does have a spare leave to shoot at.
And that is the 1, 2, and 4. It's got to hurry.
And it will stay a 9 box. Now Jack Saniuk is filling a mark, but he also has to keep in mind that he's opposite a strike 9. Thin hit, gets away with a 7.
Wow, what a change of events there in a matter of a few seconds. It looked like he would have 2 or 3 pins at first, and then everything started happening, and he dropped 7 finally, and he's got the 3, 5, 6 triangle, and he converts that. He's a little higher in the wood that shot too than he really wanted to be, but the result was what he wanted, and that's all that counts.
6 on that mark. 4 horsemen left.
He wants that wood out of there because that is definitely in play, and it's not going to help him at all, and it's going to roll off into the channel.
His lead is 22 right now.
And whoa!
Wow, that would have been a big mark right there because that could have pushed the lead over 30. But instead, that will open the door at least a bit for Steve Vadney. The opportunity is still there as we watch that miss, that near miss. So the difference is 22. This man, Steve Vadney, trailing.
Still time.
4 boxes to go.
Really, we have to mark out.
It was full, and he slid the 2-pin.
There is actually 4 pins standing up.
Strategy kind of goes out the window when that happens.
Yes. Just when you think you've seen all the possibilities as far as spare making goes, something like that happens.
Steve needs to make something happen, and it's just not going to at this point. '83 through 8. Jack Saniuk could put it out of reach here, and there's a strike, and that may do it right there. Big strike for Jack Saniuk, his second.
1-3 pocket, and he just scrambles all of them. 8 pins, the last one to go, but there's no way that was going to stand up. Double? Almost. But you're right, Doug. I think we're looking at our champion for the first week. Next week, Dave Richards comes in. He's another quality bowler. Some of you that watch the show probably haven't seen him because he hasn't been with us before, but he is an excellent Candlepin bowler.
And Steve robbed of a strike there as he moves the 6-pin. And now he'll have to shoot at it. Of course, it all could be academic at this point. Jack leads by 34 plus. So even if he were to throw a triple now, it would be very difficult for Steve. Looks like Jack's going to hit that 350 you were talking about.
Ah, I'm right on again.
And Steve Vadney, meanwhile, very uncharacteristically, will throw 3 games under his average. I dare say without looking back that that is the first time that's ever happened. A long record of accomplishment here on the program, but it's just not happening today for Steve, and he'll take a 119 and a 332. Jack Saniuk will roll his final 2, secure that he'll be back with us next week. And also probably happy that this wasn't the finals and this score doesn't count toward qualifying.
That's right.
For the Tournament of Champions. But we're still 3 weeks away from determining our winner for that.
Or having the score go the other way and lose by a few pins. He would really be upset because of the singles that he failed to convert for spares. But he's the type of bowler, he'll block it out next week. He'll be back, and it can make a big difference.
The 1, 7, 8, and 10, and that was the ball, by the way, that put him at 350. He's now at 351. Oh, big finish. Now you look at the black marks on the score sheet in this string, and Jack now has 6 marks, but he's only going to be at about 135, perhaps, right in that neighborhood.
In the last game, he had 4 marks for 117. So.
Well, strike it up for Jack Saniuk. It'll be 138 with 13 marks in the match for Jack Saniuk, but he had 7 of them in that last game. 365 is the total for Jack Saniuk. He moves on. He'll face Dave Richards next week. We'll talk to both bowlers and have the bonus ball contest in a minute. Week number 1 is in the books, and Jack Saniuk will move on after a strong third game, but it was a struggle for both, really.
Well, I think I gave him the Murphy flu. I built him up before the show, and I shouldn't have, and they caught that flu and just didn't bring their best bowling with them. But like I said, I would not want to be Dave Richards coming in, because I know Jack Saniuk's not going to throw for 350 every week.
All right, let's talk to the bowlers. First of all, Steve Vadney. Come on up, Steve. Fine round of applause for him. Of course, now 21-8. Still a long history of success here on the program. Steve, congratulations. Didn't quite happen for you today, but there'll be other chances.
Oh, yeah. I came out of the chute with a spare there. I thought, okay, and then I got a 1 fill, and then a 5 box, and then I started the next box with a 6, and I said, uh-oh, it's going to be one of them days.
And there's always time, it seems, and even in a match like that, to kind of correct things, but today it just never really got together.
Yeah, it never could get it together, and Jack surely gave me the opportunities there. You know, even after 2 games, there's only 14 out, but just couldn't put anything together.
Well, Steve, we appreciate you being here as always, and we hope you see you again real soon.
Oh, yeah, I hope to make a better show next time.
Okay. That's Steve Vadney. He'll take a runner-up check for $100, and the smaller version of our plaque from the N&R Trophy Company of Winchendon, Massachusetts. We thank them also for their continued support here on Stars and Strikes. And now Jack Saniuk is ready to roll our bonus ball, see if we can't win one of you out there some cash. $30 in the bonus ball jackpot this week. And it's a spread eagle. I was kind of hoping it was going to be a single pin and a 9-drop, but sometimes it all follows the script of the show, you see. Well, if it had been, it would have been a winner for Stanley Goodinas or Goodinas from Newburyport. Stanley guessed 9, so you'll be receiving a TV50 NHCBA desk pen. As a consolation prize, will go up to $40 next week. And Jack, slide right on in here so we can get you on the air and congratulate you for the win. You got things kind of pulled together a little bit there in that third string.
A little bit, but my first ball was good. Felt good all day. The second ball, I had no idea where it was going. But, you know, it's good to get away with a score like that. I don't think it'll happen again.
We were talking about how to try and deal with the problem of missing the single pins, but you finally did solve that one with the last one you saw.
Well, you try to say to yourself, everyone's different. Everyone's on its own. I mean, you're not shooting at 5 of them after you miss 4. You're shooting at the last one, and that's what I tried to do. I just couldn't hit them. But a win is a win, so I'll take it.
And it's your first win here on the program, and next week we'll have Dave Richards here to challenge you.
Another good contest it should be.
All right, thanks very much, Jack. Congratulations. And we will see him again next week to face Dave Richards. In fact, let's take a look at our ladder and bring you up to date now on what has happened and take a brief look ahead at what's coming in the weeks of this series. It'll be Dave Richards next week, and then Bob Kelly and Pat Pay. Dave Richards, of course, next week you alluded to, Dan, newcomer to our program, but certainly a guy who knows this competition and this situation.
That's right. Another quality bowler. First on our show, but he's been on other bowling shows, and so the lights aren't going to bother them. And I should give Jack 15 more pins. I said he hit 350. It was really 365. So I don't want to shortchange him any more than he was. So, but it should be a good one next week.
All right, we're looking forward to it, and we hope you will be here as well next Sunday at 12 noon for another edition of Candlepin Stars and Strikes. It'll be Jack Saniuk against Dave Richards. Until then, for the whole TV50 sports crew and for my partner Dan Murphy, Doug Brown, bye-bye, everybody. Have a good week.